I am a very hesitant fan of the Foundation Fighting Blindness. And why am I a very hesitant fan? Because when I got diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa about 10 years ago, I was in a performing arts career on television, doing comedy, singing, doing whatever, and suddenly found myself feeling like other and freaked out and was not sure what to do. When I heard about the Foundation Fighting Blindness, my first response was not, oh, yay. It was like, no, not me. So apparently I had some massaging of my brain cells to do along the way, non-chemically. So one of the things that I discovered when I did finally connect with the Foundation Fighting Blindness is, oh my gosh, they were really, really nice people. And that actually in itself was really fantastic. Just discovered that people were really kind, really nice, and didn't in any way make me feel like other. And one of the cool things that happened for me is I got the opportunity to write and be in a Foundation Fighting Blindness fundraising film with a comedic bent that is now part of what they show for their fundraiser thing. So that was really an amazing experience. And also I got to write that with my uncle, who is an Emmy Award-winning comedy writer. So that was an amazing experience also. So one of the things that I just want to say before I introduce our speakers is I would suggest that the biggest thing that you're going to have to deal with as a visually impaired youth is got nothing to do with the visually impaired part and everything to do with the fact that, unfortunately, you're also a human being. That actually is the tough part. The visually impaired part is going to be relatively easy. The human part, not so much. So, and one of the things that you're going to discover as you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with when you grow up, however old you are, is that whatever your visual situation is, the same requirements are for you that are for everybody else on planet Earth interested in a job, and that is focus. Focus is a word that we relate to as it has to do with visual acuity, but really focus is everything that has to do with how you are going to manage yourselves as a human being, sighted or not, on the job market. If you are passionate, if you really know what you want to do and you go for it, I can assure you nothing can stop you. Right now, I'm in a Canadian Tire commercial. I just did a national radio interview for mindfulness, which is what I teach. I am in magazines. I also have a show called Mindful Martinis that I do every month at the Gladstone Hotel. And little did they know that could be called Blindful Martinis, but some things you want to keep secret, at least till the end. So anyhow, I'm just saying that from my own personal experience, I do not let anything stop me. Yes, I have limited vision, and thankfully I have friends who have less limited vision, and I get them to help me where I need help. But other than that, I do not let anything at all stop me from doing the amazing, wonderful things that I want to do in this life. We're here to live a Technicolor experience, sighted, not sighted, it's all up to you. Anybody who tells you any different is handing you a load of crap. It's 100% up to you what you do with your life. Get on with it. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to Sana Khan. As I mentioned, she's with the Canadian Council on Rehabilitation and Work. And that is that's the national body. In Toronto, there's an actual focused group called Workplace Essential Skills Partnership. This is the Toronto arm. And she is with Employment and Outreach Specialist, Career in Transition from School to Work. Please give a big hand to Sana Khan.
Thank you, Elaine. Can everyone hear me fine? Yes? All right, perfect. It's hard to top that energy, so I will try. I will try my best. So as Elaine mentioned, I am from the Canadian Council on Rehabilitation and Work, CCRW. Now, we actually started shortly after the employment equity legislation came into fruition, which was around 1986. Our mandate has always been to bridge the gap between persons with disabilities and employers. And therefore, we have been advocating for disability and employability rights, as well as having programs across the nation. one of our programs in Ontario, in Toronto, is Workplace Essential Skills Partnership. The acronym for that, the lovely acronym is WESP. And what we do is we are a pre-employment workshop program that helps professionals with disabilities find work. So not only we're very niche in that we work with persons with disabilities, but we also work with professionals in that you either have to have a post-secondary credential, so certificate, degree, diploma, or have a relative pertinent professional experience. Now, I use the term professional experience loosely because even if you've been working in retail for a few years, that we count that as professional experience because that's a lot of transferable skills that you can use to apply to your goal. Now, I don't have much time to speak today because we are a little behind schedule, so I will try to wrap up whatever I had to say in the most concise manner. I wanted to talk about career path and transition from school to work. And I would have to agree 100% with Elaine, as she said, focus. It is about focus, as well as about putting understanding that though you definitely have a lot of challenges with the disability at hand, with the vision loss, with whatever it is that you're dealing with, but on top of that, you're a job seeker. So there are a lot of challenges that come in just by being a job seeker, particularly in this labor market where there's more outsourcing, permanency is a thing of the past, more part-time jobs, contract jobs. So the nature of the workforce has drastically changed than what it was 5 years ago, even 10 years ago. And therefore, the way we job search has changed as well. And what we do in WESP is we try to educate our job seekers to really get on board with the new way to job search, the innovative, creative ways to job search, and understand that we all have a responsibility in being informed and making the decisions that we set out for ourselves. Now, one of the biggest barriers that I find when working with students and graduates is, or really anyone when it comes to job search, is career indecision. So it's this lack of specificity or a lack of a career goal or direction. And this is where I wanted to bring it back to focus, as Elaine mentioned. Career decision is one of the most important parts of your job search that you can focus on because it will determine the path that you want to take. Now, be advised that the path may be very varied, so you don't have to make a decision, set it in stone and stick to it. It changes, but the fact that you sit down and you do an assessment on your personal style, your transferable skills, your values, and your education, and you make a decision, that's really, really important because I get a lot of people that come to me and they say, well, I'm looking for anything. Why don't you tell me what I can do? And they expect that someone is going to tell them this is what you should be doing. Really, it does not work that way. And we try to advise our clients to be specific, to have realistic goals. So this entails doing a lot of reflection in terms of sitting down, having your education in your focus, as well as the transferable skills that you've gained from the plethora of experiences that you may have as a teen, as a kid, while volunteering. So not just professional experience. This can be any experience that you've developed while in community groups, churches, mosques, synagogues, whatever you participated in outside of your professional life. So we encourage you to have some kind of a focus. So ensure that you have a goal in mind and understand that that goal is not going to pigeonhole you. It's actually going to make it easier for you to thrive in the job market. So a lot of people feel that just because if they have a goal, it'll limit them from the jobs that they want to get. But we advise that being specific, having a realistic goal. So if you have retail experience and all of a sudden you're saying, well, I want to be a professional skateboarder. And, you can't add the two. If you want to go back and train like, let's say if you wanted to be an actuary and analyst and you have you have an economics degree, of course you can't just jump in and get that. You'd have to get a lot of certifications to go to obtain your goal. So ensure that your new goal is pertinent to your experience that you carry. Otherwise, you'd have to go back and get the skills that you need in order to fulfill that goal. Now, this moves me to the next part that I'm going to talk about, which is once you're job searching. So once you meet the employers. So job searching cycle is, again, it involves not just looking at your goal, but once you have the goal, you're applying. So once you apply, you get an interview. Once you have an interview, you're sitting across from an employer, talking to them about your skills. You're selling yourself. Now, the big question is with regards to accommodation and disclosure. A lot of individuals are not sure whether or not to disclose at that moment, or really what their rights are with regards to employer providing the necessary accommodation. And what we say is really, with disclosure, you need to do your research as well. You need to set up some time and understand your accommodation, know the must-haves. You absolutely need to know if your disability affects the essential duties of the job. If it does not, then you don't need to disclose it. And disclosure is optional too. It can happen anywhere in the job search cycle. It can happen during the interview. It can happen when you're signing the contract. It can happen afterwards. Now, keep in mind, if the disability in question has an impact on the essential duties and you wait until you start the job to tell your employer, that puts a sour taste in their mouth, because it's a matter of trust and being honest. So we do recommend that you know exactly if the disability impacts the essential duties of the job, and you do your research in terms of keeping it short and sweet. So often employers find that individuals will just go on and dispel just a lot of information, and that's too much for them to absorb at that given moment. All they want to know at that time is what you can do. So avoid talking about your disability or what you require. So we do advise you to keep it short and sweet, understand that it's optional, understand that you should do some research with regards to what types of accommodations work for you, and meet the employer halfway in providing them resources for organizations that help with accommodation as well. One of the organizations one of the companies that CCRW has is JAS, J-A-S. Stands for Job Accommodation Services. This is a fee-for-service for employers. We actually do an assessment. We have occupational therapists as well as accommodation specialists that speak to the employer, do an assessment, and educate them on how easy it is to accommodate for job seekers. And believe it or not, most employers aren't aware of this. So we want to tell our clients, that is your responsibility to be aware of the types of services that exist out there, and let the employer know, because you are advocates in this, and so are we. And hopefully we want to ensure that we're working in a really well-informed employer. And just because they don't know often does not necessarily mean that they're discriminatory. Am I running out of time? Okay. Well, thank you so much, and I'll hand it over to Lane.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sana. As you can see, we have very little time here, and we do want to hear Molly, and we do want to hear Sue. So sorry, I realized I haven't done all my duties here. This session is generously sponsored by RBC, Foundation, and Sick Kids Hospital, who also support the Foundation's Youth Space program. Please check it out. It's an initiative provided to youth 12 to 29. I can assure you, you want to make friends. If nothing else, you want to have somebody to laugh with. I can assure you it is the most beneficial part of being a human. So as you heard from Sana, apparently you are human, and some of the things that you have to do are the same things other humans have to do. Amazing. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to Sue Marsh-Woods, who's the Manager of Service and Operations for CNIB in Toronto. She has been one of the founding members of Vision Quest and involved for 29 years. She is passionate about the work of the Foundation Fighting Blindness, CNIB, and programs for youth. Please welcome Sue Marsh-Woods.
Thank you. I feel like I'm doing speed dating here or something. Anyway, I'm going to try not to overwhelm you with too much information. Today, I just want to focus on one particular program. It's called SCORE 4, and I will tell you what that acronym stands for now that I know what it is. It stands for Skills, Confidence, and Opportunities through Recreation and Education. So the SCORE program has been in existence since 1986. It started off as a computer camp, and it was actually the Gretzky family that made this possible. And over the years, the program evolved. In 2006, based on results of a youth study we did, we decided to change the focus of the program to be more skill development, pre-employment, just kind of all of the things. We also know that a lot of our kids that are blind or partially sighted have limited access to recreational programs. And you know, bottom line is that confidence, that self-esteem often comes by participating in sports and feeling like you're part of a community. So that is basically why we've kind of rolled that all into the one program. So in Toronto, we do run a number of different group programs for little kids and teens, and there's not enough time to go into our March break camp. Anyway, SCORE 4 is a program that individuals from across the country can apply to attend, and they have to actually submit an essay as to why they want to come on the program. And so we have kids flying in from all across the country to participate. There's usually about 10 to 12 teens that come on the program. And the primary themes for the 2-week program are teamwork, leadership, personal development, and civic responsibility. There's a recreational component to promote fun alongside learning and healthy, balanced lifestyle. So it's a pretty holistic approach, which we feel is so important. I think for a lot of our kids, career planning has to start a lot earlier than our sighted population, just because so much of the world is changing, as Samara mentioned. We really need to get our kids ramping up a lot earlier, and that's why we have programs for little kids. And we start talking to them about get a paper route, babysit, all these things, because you've got to have experience. Some of the components in the program, they spend a week up at the CNIB camp up in Muskoka, and the content would be leadership activities, team building, personal development. The second week, they actually come back to Toronto and they stay at the Ryerson University residence. And again, this is an opportunity for them to practice some independent living skills. So there's some cooking, they're doing some orientation and mobility, so being able to get around the city using TTC. CNIB staff are deployed to support all of these activities. During the program, we're talking about career exploration, career preparation, and looking at, you know, what do you want to do when you grow up, so to speak. Looking at post-secondary options, because again, it appears that a lot of our kids are just not doing this at the right time. And so they turn 18 and they're like, okay, what am I going to do now? So it's got to start a lot earlier, and this is why our programs start at such a young age. They do volunteer work during the second week. We've got a number of different organizations that allow us to have our kids go in and actually do perform simple work tasks, and it again builds that confidence. Let me see, employment preparation. They go on a tour of the Tactile Museum. So, you know, it's sort of a combination of things. It's not just all work. They do have some fun, but everything we're doing is teaching a skill, whether it be, you know, learning how to navigate, like I mentioned earlier, through the subway. There's intensive workshops. One evening they do career night, and this is where we bring individuals who are blind and partially sighted who are actively employed. And so they get a chance to find out, how did you get into that career? Two resources that I'll mention very quickly that you can check on our website, cnib.ca, is Career Connect and Project Despero. Highly recommend these programs. They are pre-employment. If you have any questions, just maybe at the end of the presentation, you can come up and talk to me, and I think I've got to stop now. All right.
Thank you so very much. I know the time is very short. It's not nearly enough, but I'm really excited now, and I want to have some time for Molly to hear from her. So please, without further ado, and thank you so much, Sue. Thank you very much for all that. Could you have a big hand of applause, please, for Molly Burke? Thank you. Please.
Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing? Oh, come on. I know we have to get up early on a Saturday, but how are you doing? You have more than that. There we go. Thank you, guys. Now I feel more confident. So can I just get a quick time check? I was told I have 10 minutes. Am I still... Do I still have 10 minutes? Sure. 1:45 means nothing to me. Okay, so my name is Molly Burke. I am 20 years old, and I've been a full-time motivational speaker for the past 2.5 years, and I've been a public speaker for the past almost 16. So it's been a huge part of my life. I actually recently just launched my own motivational speaking business. My website, mollyburke.ca, just went live in October, so it's a really exciting time for me in my career right now. And here beside me, I have a huge black dog. His name is Gallop, like a horse running, which really suits him because he literally weighs more than I do. And he is brand new into my journey. We've only been together since August, but before that, I got my first guide dog at 13 from the Foundation, and I worked her for 7 years. So that's a little bit of background. And today, I want to share with you a little bit more of my journey. I'm going to try to keep it short. I usually do 45-minute speeches, so getting my story into 10 is a little difficult for me, and I tend to talk a lot, so I'm going to try to do my best, because I know we're short on time. But my journey is really one of loss and depression, but it's also a journey of support and hope. And that's the important side that I really want to share with you all here today. So a little bit of background. I was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa at Sick Kids Hospital when I was 4 years old. And although at that point I didn't know what that meant for my life, I was thrown into learning skills that I might later need in life, like learning how to read and write in Braille, learning how to use assistive technology, learning how to use a cane, and one day get me to my goal of using a guide dog. I felt pretty special getting to do all of this, but it also made a lot of my classmates feel jealous. And I soon found myself being the target of bullying. And what was small things at first, like name-calling, quickly over the years developed into something much more serious. When I was 14, due to my RP, I lost the majority of my vision, leaving me now at this point almost completely blind. And at that point, being 14, being in grade 8, getting used to blindness, it was a time of change and a lot of uncertainty in my life. And that led to me falling down the stairs. I'm sure if you're blind or visually impaired in this room, you know all about those accidents. And I ended up injuring my ankle and found myself on crutches. I could no longer use this guide dog that I had worked so hard for, and I had to rely on classmates to help me get around. A group of girls who used to be my best friends decided they would take this opportunity to lead me across a field and into a forest at lunchtime. That's when they sat me down, they took my crutches, and they left. And I realized sitting there alone in this forest, I couldn't see, I couldn't walk. They had my crutches, my backpack. I was meant to be in class, and I just didn't know what to do. I felt alone, and I had this deep belief that ending my life was the only way to end the pain. And that's when I made my plan to commit suicide. And I'm so lucky 6 years later that my cries for help that day were heard, and that I was able to find a team of people to support me. Doctors, psychologists, nutritionists, fitness specialists, family, new friends that helped me get out of that dark place. But for me, it wasn't until I found hope that my life really began to change in a significant way. And it was actually at a dinner for the Foundation Fighting Blindness, something I've been so privileged to be a part of since I was 5 years old. And I was sitting there feeling depressed. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't really want to be there. When my mom was talking to a doctor about her necklace. And I've always been interested in fashion, and when she saw that interest, she grabbed my hand and she brought it to her neck, and she helped me trace out H-O-P-E, hope. And she talked about how she got up every day with the belief and the hope that we would one day find a cure. And I realized that, yes, I had lost my vision, I had lost my friends, but the reason that I had lost my will to live was because I had lost the most important piece, and that was my hope. And that day I realized that I needed to stop living inside of myself and my own challenges. Because there is so many people out in this world who are struggling, and you're not the only one. I realized that I needed to start reaching out to other people and giving them the help that was so crucial to me in my recovery. And that's when I decided that I wanted to start fundraising for kids in Africa. I decided the best way to do this would be traveling around to schools, sharing my story, and speaking out just like I am here today. And that's what I started doing. I ended up raising $8,000, speaking at over a dozen schools, planning events at my local YMCA, and I ended up being awarded with the YMCA of Oakville's Peace Medallion. And they recognized that not only was I helping to bring a spirit of global community, but that ultimately I was acting selflessly in the face of my own challenges, and that I had truly come to peace with myself as well as my disability. And that day that I accepted that award, I realized that I'm not defined by my disability. Rather, I'm defined by the person my disability has helped me to become. And nobody in this room is defined by the challenges they face, but only by the strength that it gives them. And we should never be embarrassed about who we are. We should never be ashamed about what we have been through. We should just be proud that we have made it this far. He's having a fun time down here. He's still a puppy. Gallop. Da-boo. Da-boo. He's like, the show is all about me, Mom. Come here. He's still a puppy. He's only 28 months old. So I know, 90 pounds, 28 months. He's still growing. So what I really want to leave you guys with today is that asking for help in life isn't failing, but failing to ask for the help that you need is. And it's not just blind and visually impaired people that have to ask for help in life. We are all human. Above our blindness, we are just humans, and we all need help sometimes. Finding something that works for you, finding a passion in life, is gonna make your life so much easier. And I'm so lucky that every single day I get to wake up with the hope and the dream of educating, motivating, or inspiring one person through my story. And if I can do that every day, if I can do that for somebody here in this room today, then everything that I've been through is worth it. And what I've truly learned is that we have to keep our hope alive. The hope that what has been will not always be. And I think that my life, my story, and my journey thus far is proof of that. So thank you guys so much for being a great audience, and I'm sorry I didn't have more time than that. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Molly. That was incredible. Thank you. Molly, Sue, and Sana, can we please have a big hand for everyone?
Thank you so much.